Throughout the history of civilization, humanity has always required intense, twin-poled rivalries to make sense of the world and the universe. In the arena of politics, it was Caesar and Pompey. In the dim laboratories of science, Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison. On the lethal corners of Formula One, Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost. The human mind has always been hungry for the presence of a counter-genius, a rival standing directly opposite, just to witness the absolute limits of human capability. Yet, no modern arena created by mankind could ever come close to the colossal, relentless, and fiercely organized warfare that the green pitch witnessed for 2 decades. What transpired on these sacred grounds was never merely a 90-minute struggle between 2 talented athletes. This was the clash of the 2 greatest, most contrasting football philosophies the world had ever seen. It was a war of billion-dollar mega-industries, global sports empires, and, most importantly, the belief systems of billions of people. Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, when they stepped onto the pitch, they did not just chase a ball. They commanded the modern world's largest marketing operations, media lobbies, and the very boundaries of human psychology. Today, we open the dusty archives and hidden rooms of this 20-year global chess match. We step behind the blinding glare of the cameras, uncovering the truths meticulously concealed by corporate sponsors, and rewriting the secret history that fundamentally altered the pure soul of football from its very inception, in absolute detail. Brace yourselves, because this is the dark world beneath the pitch. What transpired on these sacred grounds was never merely a 90-minute struggle between 2 talented athletes. This was the clash of the 2 greatest, most contrasting football philosophies the world had ever seen. It was a war of billion-dollar mega-industries, global sports empires, and, most importantly, the belief systems of billions of people, Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. When they stepped onto the pitch, they did not just chase a ball. They commanded the modern world's largest marketing operations, media lobbies, and the very boundaries of human psychology. Today, we open the dusty archives and hidden rooms of this 20-year global chess match. We step behind the blinding glare of the cameras, uncovering the truths meticulously concealed by corporate sponsors and rewriting the secret history that fundamentally altered the pure soul of football from its very inception, in absolute detail. Brace yourselves, because this is the dark world beneath the pitch. This relentless saga did not begin under the massive spotlights of world-class stadiums, nor did it spark while the flashes of paparazzi cameras were blinding the world. The roots of this rivalry were planted into entirely different corners of the earth, in the very depths of poverty and desperation, where 2 completely opposite genetic codes began to be written. In the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, on the impoverished, steep, and rugged streets of the Portuguese island of Madeira, lived a skinny, lanky boy who chased an old plastic ball on concrete until the break of dawn. With a heart beating to the rhythm of arrhythmia, a father dissolving in the clutches of alcoholism, and a mother who almost chose to terminate her pregnancy, this child had to develop a ruthless, unforgiving will just to survive. That boy was Cristiano Ronaldo. He chose to become a machine, an engineering marvel that pushed the boundaries of the human anatomy through relentless science and genetic discipline. He would wake up before everyone else, run harder than anyone else, and forge his own destiny with an iron will, trampling over fate itself. During those exact same years, on the other side of the Atlantic, in the muddy and precarious neighborhoods of Rosario, Argentina, another child was making his first contact with the ball. Left drastically smaller than his peers, diagnosed with a growth hormone deficiency, and deemed by the medical world as unlikely to ever reach a normal adult height, this fragile boy seemed bound for obscurity. Yet, the moment he stepped onto the pitch, he defied the laws of physics, suspended gravity, and stopped the flow of time. That boy was Lionel Messi. He had no need for high-tech laboratories, protein supplements, or superhuman muscle mass. The gods of football had bestowed such a supreme blessing upon his left foot that the ball seemed tied to his boot by an invisible thread. While Cristiano declared war against life and turned into tempered steel, Lionel became a sorcerer, blending seamlessly with the pure nature of the game. Before they had even heard of each other's names, destiny had already split the green pitch in 2, starting the countdown to bring 2 different gods face to face. By the mid-2000s, deep within the tactical matrices of European football, 2 legendary masterminds stepped onto the stage to transform these 2 prodigies into lethal global weapons. On the rain-soaked grass of Old Trafford, Manchester United's legendary manager Sir Alex Ferguson discovered Cristiano Ronaldo. At the time, he was looking at a selfish, erratic winger who did nothing but dribble and drive the fans to madness. Ferguson took this raw, wild energy, molded it with military discipline, and engineered him into a ruthless, mechanical goal assassin prowling the penalty box. Cristiano grew up like a gladiator in the bruising, unforgiving football of England, his bones tested and tempered with every tackle. Simultaneously, in the heart of Catalonia, inside the secret rooms of Camp Nou and the La Masia Academy, a completely different revolution was taking place. When Pep Guardiola took charge of the Barcelona first team, he recognized the cosmic spark inside Lionel Messi and made a radical decision that would alter the history of football tactics forever. He pulled Messi from the right wing and deployed him at the dead center of the pitch, in the false nine position. This single maneuver completely obliterated every defensive theory the football world had developed up to that point. While Barcelona constructed a flawless, geometric symphony of passing around Messi, Manchester United built a conquering empire engineered around Ronaldo's raw speed and destructive power. These two mega clubs raced to individual players like to opposing nuclear superpowers preparing for a global conflict. And when they finally locked eyes for the first time in the 2009 Champions League final in Rome, the axis of world football would never return to its original place. On a scorching summer day in 2009, Real Madrid president Florentino Perez executed one of the largest financial operations in football history, bringing Cristiano Ronaldo to the Santiago Bernabeu for a staggering €94 million. This transfer was not merely a change of clubs. It ignited the fuse that transformed the modern El Clásico into a global civil war, a brutal Roman Colosseum. For nearly a decade, life across the planet came to a standstill every Wednesday and Sunday night as billions of people held their breath in front of television screens. This was no longer just a match between Real Madrid and Barcelona. This was a war between a white-shirted Cristiano, weaponized by Jose Mourinho's military discipline, tactical fouls, and psychological warfare, and a blue and garnet Lionel, deployed by Pep Guardiola with aesthetic, philosophical, and almost artistic perfection. The greatest truth in the secret history of this war was that every goal scored and every victory achieved served as ammunition in the billion-dollar sponsorship wars and media empire battles raging inside corporate boardrooms. The media pushed this rivalry to such an extreme that both players were forced to shed their human limitations. On a Sunday night, Cristiano Ronaldo would storm Camp Nou, score a hat-trick, and motion to the stunned crowd, signaling "Calm down, I am here." Days later, Messi would strike a last-second winner at the Santiago Bernabeu, tear off his shirt, and hold it up to the Madrid crowd like a defiant king. When one rose, the other was hard-coded to pull him back down. For 10 years, they fed off each other's psychology, training regimes, and lives. If Cristiano had not existed, Messi could never have evolved into such a terrifying monster. If Messi had not existed, Cristiano would never have found the burning motivation to enter that gym at 4 a.m. every single morning. The Ballon d'Or, the most prestigious and unattainable individual prize in the football world, became the personal property of these two men for nearly 15 years, a dynastic fiefdom they casually divided amongst themselves. The most gifted players of a generation, icons like Xavi, Iniesta, Neymar, Lewandowski, and Benzema, were reduced to fighting merely for third place behind these two titans. Soon, the numbers escalated to an absurd reality, 5 versus 8, whenever Lionel Messi seized a mathematical advantage in the award count. The Ronaldo camp immediately countered by throwing statistical sheets, Champions League scoring records, and crushing international numbers onto the table. Yet, behind these golden wars lay a far deeper public relations and lobbying warfare completely hidden from the everyday fan. Behind the closed doors of the luxury galas where the awards were handed out, the stock values of corporate giants like Nike and Adidas were aggressively competing. The bureaucracies of FIFA and UEFA carefully polarized the personalities of these two players to better market their own brands. Media machines meticulously framed Messi as the humble, family man, the pure and innocent child of football, while marketing Cristiano Ronaldo as the arrogant, mirror-staring antagonist driven by a towering ego. The trophies were not just won on the grass. They were secured in the media plazas where these narrative operations were engineered. Every time Cristiano lost a Ballon d'Or, he channeled his fury into the pitch by scoring more goals, while Messi expanded his silent empire with every golden ball he collected. The UEFA Champions League, the grandest, most ruthless, and elite stage in European football, became the absolute feudal kingdom of Cristiano Ronaldo. The football world did not crown him Mr. Champions League by accident. Carrying the trophy home 5 times in total, including an unprecedented 3 consecutive titles with Real Madrid, Ronaldo established himself as the tournament's all-time top scorer, proving to the world how he transformed into a lethal predator under absolute pressure. The salislets he hung in the air during that superhuman bicycle kick against Juventus in Turin were living proof of how a single footballer could completely suspend the laws of gravity. Yet, Lionel Messi never contentedly watched this kingship from afar. The brand of football he displayed while winning the Champions League with Barcelona proved that football was not merely a sport of scoring goals, but an art of geometry and spatial brilliance. The moment at Camp Nou when he sent Bayern Munich's Jerome Boateng crashing to the turf with a single body feint before chipping the ball over Manuel Neuer, the world's greatest goalkeeper, became archived as one of the most iconic, artistic moments in sports history. The Champions League was the ultimate laboratory, showing how these two icons utilized immense pressure as premium fuel. When one scored a hat-trick in the quarterfinals, the other would single-handedly dismantle an entire team in the semi-finals the very next day. Trophy counts and records were nothing more than battle flags, passing from one hand to the other with every passing season. At the club level, winning every imaginable trophy with teams financed by billionaires and living in absolute luxury had eventually become a routine job for these two geniuses. However, the moment they pulled the heavy, sacred jerseys of their respective nations over their shoulders, the darkest, most tragic, and psychologically excruciating periods of their careers began. Under the blue and white of Argentina, Lionel Messi found himself trapped in a localized curse. Following consecutive heartbreaks in the World Cup final and the Copa America finals, he was branded by the Argentine public and media as the traitor who refuses to sing the national anthem. The boy who belongs to Barcelona but sold out Argentina. The pressure grew so monstrous that in 2016, weeping bitterly, Messi announced his retirement from international football. In his own homeland, he was a helpless genius suffocating under the towering, mystical shadow of Diego Maradona. Simultaneously, Cristiano Ronaldo was carrying the entire weight of Portuguese football history on his back. In the 2016 European Championship, as he marched Portugal toward their first-ever major silverware, tragedy struck when he was forced off the pitch in tears early in the final due to a severe injury. But Cristiano did not break. With heavy bandages wrapped around his knee, he stood directly beside the manager, commanding and orchestrating the team from the technical area like a seasoned general. When Portugal claimed that trophy, Ronaldo transcended the status of an athlete. He became his nation's ultimate national hero. This massive turning point completely inverted the psychological balance of the rivalry. Ronaldo was hailed as a conquering emperor who delivered gold to his country, while Messi had been reduced to a tragic figure of lost finals. That was, until the script was completely flipped. In the winter of 2022, the World Cup held in the deserts of Qatar was engineered as the final, irreversible arena for this 20-year epic tale. And the secret, ruthless scriptwriters of football penned two entirely contrasting, deeply dramatic fates for these two titans. For Cristiano Ronaldo, Qatar was a stage of tragic collapse. He had parted ways with Manchester United following an explosive interview, found himself clubless, his form declining, and most painfully, he was benched in the knockout stages of the World Cup for the first time in his international career. When the final whistle blew in the quarterfinal against Morocco, Cristiano walked down the dark tunnel entirely alone, weeping uncontrollably as his World Cup dream died forever. The magnificent machine had finally been broken by the unforgiving gears of time. On the other side of the desert, Lionel Messi was fulfilling a lethal vow to secure the single missing piece of his career, the one that kept him awake in the dead of night. He was no longer the quiet, introverted boy of the past. There stood a fierce leader, fighting with opponents, embracing the grit of a street fighter, and leading his squad into battle like a general. And on that epic final night, under the mesmerizing lights of the Lusail Stadium, as he lifted the golden trophy into the sky, an entire era officially concluded across the globe. For many sports authorities and football purists, the debate over the GOAT, the greatest of all time, was settled forever that night. Messi had beaten the final boss and finished the game. Yet, a rivalry of this magnitude can never be completely buried by a single tournament. Following that monumental finale in Qatar, the world assumed this spectacular story had reached its twilight, and both kings would gracefully transition into retirement mode. But the rivalry refused to die. It merely mutated, morphing into the largest financial and marketing operation the global market had ever seen. Cristiano Ronaldo chose to become the global face of Saudi Arabia's Al-Nassr project, the newly declared financial and geopolitical powerhouse of football. Under the blazing Middle Eastern sun, and despite his advancing age, he continued to smash goal records and hammer hat tricks with unbelievable physical discipline, sending a roaring message to the world: "I am still here, and I am unbroken." His historic move triggered a golden migration as world-class stars began flooding into the Saudi sands, one after another. Meanwhile, Lionel Messi signed across the Atlantic, heading straight for the heart of the American dream and the Hollywood lights of David Beckham's Inter Miami project. The moment Messi's boots touched American soil, a football frenzy broke out across the United States. Stadiums were suddenly packed with A-list actors, supermodels, and billionaires. They were no longer crossing swords on those elite, freezing Champions League nights in Europe. One was playing in the heart of the desert, the other in the shadow of American skyscrapers. Yet, no matter where a football match is played across the globe, or whenever a player misses a sitter in a stadium, the crowd still echoes with chants of Ronaldo or Messi. The footballing world simply cannot break its heavy addiction to these two names, struggling to learn how to walk without them. And finally, the calendar reads the year 2026. We stand on the absolute precipice of the massive, historic, and most expansive FIFA World Cup 2026, hosted across the North American continent by the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Their age is now touching 40, carrying the heavy fatigue, injuries, and battle scars of a 20-year war within their bodies. These two living monuments are preparing to step onto the green pitch one last time, perhaps for the final time in their lives. Looking back today, the astronomical statistics, the hundreds of goals scored, the dozens of trophies won, the Ballon d'Or counts, all of it dissolves into mere dry numbers. Because the greatest and most profound secret this 20-year war engraved onto the soul of humanity was this: we never truly wanted one to completely destroy the other. We never wanted one to claim absolute victory. What we truly experienced was the mesmerizing luxury of witnessing to different miracles, to entirely distinct forms of divine talent, occupying the exact same window of human history. Now, look back at the video thumbnail: Ronaldo or Messi? Perhaps the question we have been asking for 20 years was entirely wrong. The real question is this: when these two titans finally vanish down the dark tunnel and leave the pitch for good, will the heart of football ever be able to beat this hard, and with this much passion ever again? The ultimate secret of the pitch lies hidden within the answer to that very question.